We are going to read When the Pigs Took Over for the second time. Please make sure that you have your worksheet ready to go and that you have a pencil in your hand, your headphones are in and plugged in just right, and that you're ready to pay attention. Remember, follow along as I read and do the best that you can to answer those questions. A quick reminder about the questions: you must answer using complete sentences. Also, your answers must come from the text, so pay attention. Remember when I say pause the video to answer a question, that you are supposed to actually push pause on the video. Take your time to answer the question and then push play again. Let's begin. When the pigs took over. Alonzo was little. Don Carlos was big. He was Alonzo's big brother, much older and much, much bigger. Alonzo had one hat. Don Carlos had 7, and he wore them all at once. Mas, said Don Carlos as he found 3 more. Oh no, thought Alonzo, more. Don Carlos had lots of ideas about more, especially at his restaurant. Don Carlos had the only restaurant in the village. He served huge, sizzling, steaming plates of food, bowls of food, platters of food that people liked eating. Mas? Don Carlos always asked. Now remember, a village is a small town. This sizzling and steaming means hot, and a platter is a big dish. So this right here is a big platter. See how much bigger the platter is than just the regular plates. Right here. Alonzo liked playing his violin at the restaurant. Magnifico! Villagers cheered. Of all the villagers, none could play music as well as Alonzo. Mas, said Don Carlos. People were happily listening to the music and eating, but Don Carlos was thinking about more foods that he could add to the restaurant menu. Now, we went over these words. Magnifico means magnificent, right? And then the menu is a list of food. Alonzo read that in a big fancy restaurant in the city, people ate snails. Caracoles, said Don Carlos. Snails. So remember that word right there means snails. There were lots of snails in the village. Alonzo helped gather snails. Soon there were pails of snails, baskets of snails, wheelbarrows of snails. Look, there's the picture with a caption for us. Mas, said Don Carlo. They looked for more snails. So right down here, this first question, you're going to get ready to pause your video, but listen to the question. What food do Don Carlos and Alonzo get for the restaurant? Why? Pause the video and answer question number 1. If you need to go back and replay the video, go ahead and go back. Okay, question number 2. Down here it says ask questions. I want you to think about Don Carlos or Alonzo. Write down a question you have about one of those characters. Pause the video and write down a question you have. Okay, next page right here. Snails crawled out of baskets, pails, and wheelbarrows in the restaurant kitchen. The snails were looking for food. The snails ate and ate and ate. They ate every blade of grass. Remember, blade means piece. Every plant and flower in the village. ¿Qué hacemos? The villagers cried, wondering what to do. Remember, ¿qué hacemos? What do we do? Then up here, parajos. Birds is in Spanish, Alonzo said. Birds! He had seen birds eat snails. He threw corn and breadcrumbs to attract birds. At first, only a few birds landed. Mas, said Don Carlos. The villagers tossed more crumbs. Birds flapped in tree branches, fluttered on rooftops, even landed on people's heads. The birds started to eat snails. They raced across roads, finding snails to eat. Soon there were no snails, but birds were everywhere, squawking and screeching and scratching. Scra, kia, scrick, crack. Birds and what they dropped covered everything. ¿Qué hacemos? Cried the villagers. Remember, ¿qué hacemos? What do we do? Then over here, puercos, said Alonzo. Pigs! He had seen pigs chase birds away. Alonzo and the villagers rounded up the pigs. Pigs ran snorting and grunting at the birds. Grunt, grunt, but the birds kept flapping through the village. Mas, said Don Carlos. So, how do the birds stop the snails? You're going to pause the video and answer question number 3. How do the brothers stop the snails? Okay, question number 4 on your paper says, what does Alonzo think the pigs will do? If you can't remember, go back and re-listen. What does Alonzo think the pigs will do? Pause the video and answer question number 4. Alonzo asked Don Carlos if he was sure he wanted more. Sí, más, Don Carlos said. That means yes, more. Large pigs, small pigs, pigs with spots, and pigs with none were brought from the nearby countryside, which means they were brought from the nearby town. The pigs snuffed and snapped and squealed. They scared away the birds and then began to eat. They ate everything in front of their snouts. Pigs clattered into kitchens, trotted into Don Carlos's restaurant, tipped over tables, tore up the village looking for more. So they bumped into things, they destroyed things, they were looking for more food. Don Carlos began to jump and shout, trying to chase the pigs away, but the pigs were everywhere. ¿Qué hacemos? Everyone wondered what to do. Okay, look at number 5. This is on the back side of your worksheet. I want you to describe how the village was different after the snails and the birds and the pigs came. So you may have to go back and look at the village before, but I want you to describe how the village was different after the snails, birds, and pigs came. Pause the video and write down your answer to number 5. Musica, Alonzo said. Music. He had heard a story about a boy who played music and led rats out of a village. Alonzo played his violin. The villagers brought out other instruments. Skrik, skronk, kablong, pum, pam, pum, pam. Terrible sounds came from the instruments. The sounds were bad. They were awful. They were horrible. The pigs kept running wild. Don Carlos put his hands over his ears. The music was more than even he could stand. No más, he cried. Mas, Alonzo shouted to the villagers. The villagers marched through the streets, playing louder and louder. Hearing the terrible sounds, pigs tried to get away. The pigs ran fast and far until there was not a pig in sight, or they were all gone. Don Carlos uncovered his ears. He looked at how much the village had been destroyed. No más, he said sadly. He realized, or he understood, that more was not always better. Sí, más, said Alonzo. He wanted more. Practice for the band. So in the evening, in a cozy village restaurant that serves a lot but does not serve snails, a band. Let me start again on that page. Hold on. Sí, más, said Alonzo. He wanted more practice for the band. So in the evening, in a cozy village restaurant that serves a lot but does not serve snails, a band can be heard playing or practicing more. So I want you to look at your paper. Look at number 6. Number 6 has you do a compare and contrast. So compare what Don Carlos says at the beginning of the story and at the end of the story. Think about, what does he learn? So he wanted something at the beginning, but then it was something different at the end. So you're going to look on your worksheet. It looks like this. Compare what he says at the beginning of the story to what he says at the end of the story. And right in here is, how is it the same? How is what he said the same?